In August 2010, London police entered a high-end flat in Pimlico and found a red North Face sports bag sitting in a bathtub. Inside that bag, padlocked from the outside, was the naked, decomposing body of a 31-year-old genius mathematician named Gareth Williams.
Wait, padlock bit from the outside? That sounds like a clear-cut case of murder.
You'd think so, especially since Gareth was an MI6 codebreaker, but 13 years later, the official police stance is that he probably just climbed in there himself and got stuck.
You are kidding me. How does a top-tier spy end up as a bag accident? And why is the government so eager to stick to that story?
Gareth Williams wasn't your typical James Bond. He was a Welsh math prodigy who graduated university at 17 and earned a PhD before most people finished their bachelor's. He worked for GCHQ, the UK's signals intelligence agency, but he was on a high-stakes secondment to MI6 in London.
So he's the guy behind the scenes, the one cracking the codes the field agents use. What was the world like for a guy like that in 2010?
The digital shadows were lengthening. Williams wasn't just doing math, he was reportedly helping the NSA track international money laundering routes. We're talking about tracing the billions of dollars moving through Moscow-based mafia cells and organized crime groups.
So he's poking his nose into the pockets of the Russian mob and global cartels. That is a very dangerous place for a quiet mathematician to be.
Exactly. He was just 1 week away from finishing his London stint and moving back to his home base in Cheltenham. He had his bags packed literally, but then he just stopped showing up for work.
And I assume MI6, being an elite intelligence agency, noticed their star codebreaker was missing immediately?
That's one of the biggest red flags. MI6 waited 7 full days before they bothered to tell the police he was missing. For a week, Gareth lay in that bathtub while the heating in the flat was cranked up to the max during a London August. When the police finally broke in, they found a pristine scene. No signs of a struggle, no forced entry, and most bafflingly, no fingerprints. Not on the bathtub, not on the padlock, not even on the zipper of the bag.
That doesn't sound like an accident. That sounds like a professional cleaner swept the room.
That was the conclusion of the coroner, Dr. Fiona Wilcox. During the 2012 inquest, she watched an expert escapologist try to lock himself in an identical bag. He tried 400 times. He failed every single time.
So the science says he couldn't have done it to himself. What did the police say to that?
This is where it gets bizarre. Despite the coroner ruling it an unlawful killing, the Metropolitan Police later did their own review and flipped the script. They claimed it was probably an accident related to a solo sex act or claustrophilia, an interest in being in confined spaces.
Did they have any proof for that, or were they just trying to stop people from looking at the Russian mob angle?
They pointed to 20,000 pounds worth of unworn women's designer clothing found in his flat. They used his private life to build a narrative of a man with secret, dangerous hobbies, but his family and friends were adamant. Gareth was a cyclist and a math nerd, not an escapologist.
And what about the missing fingerprints? If he climbed in there himself, he had to touch something.
Exactly. To the coroner, the lack of Gareth's own DNA on the bathtub rim suggested he was placed there. To the police, the lack of third-party DNA suggested he was alone. It's the ultimate forensic paradox. This case matters because it highlights the terrifying vacuum that exists when the world of high-level espionage meets the civil legal system. Because MI6 is shielded by secrecy, they were able to delay the investigation and potentially tidy up the flat before the real police arrived.
It feels like the accident theory is just too convenient for everyone in power. If it's a murder, MI6 failed to protect their own from a foreign hit squad on British soil.
And it's a pattern we see repeated. From Alexander Litvinenko to the Skripal poisonings, Britain has struggled to handle what look like Russian state-sponsored hits. The Gareth Williams case remains an open wound because the two official versions of his death are fundamentally irreconcilable.
One says he was a victim of a professional assassination, and the other says he was a man who died in a tragic, lonely accident. You can't have both.
And yet, that's exactly where the record stands. The police case is closed, but the coroner's verdict of unlawful killing is still the legal reality. He is both a victim of a crime and a victim of a mishap, depending on which government building you're standing in.
What's the one thing to remember about the death of Gareth Williams?
Remember that no matter how complex the math or the spycraft, a padlocked bag doesn't lock itself from the outside without a hand to click the shutter.
That's Wikipedia. Every story on demand. Search your next topic at wikipedia.ai.